Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with New York-based jazz guitarist Tomas Janzon on the 2022 CD Nomadic. He's an old friend of the show, and after sending the music via CD to Neon Jazz, we have delighted in the sonic power of it. The album features Steve Nelson on vibes, Hiliard Greene and Jeff Littleton on bass, along with Tony Austin and Chuck McPherson on the drums. We cover the construction of this new album, how he survived and thrived in COVID times, upcoming 2023 events, and so much more. Enjoy this interview.
Mr. Janzon.
Yeah, Joe, how are you doing?
How are you, sir?
Good to hear from you.
Great to hear from you, man. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for sending over the music. I loved it. I really had a wonderful time driving around. My son's actually a huge jazz fan, and we just sat back and let that thing go on repeat. It was wonderful.
Oh, great. Thank you. Wonderful.
So
yeah.
It's very seamless. And lately, it's funny, you know, I was talking to my stepdaughter about an album that she was into, and she was kind of noting the idea of like one song kind of slipping into another, kind of that George Martin Beatles kind of vibe. And it feels like this album feels like that. It just seamlessly kind of goes from one song to the next.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, that was interesting.
Yeah.
See, you find out new things.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Wow. It's a cue, you know, how you cue it, how you cue the order of the tunes is always really tricky. So I guess I try to make it, you know, different sounds, so get from one thing to something new every time. But it's always hard to get the tunes in the right order. So, you know, that's always it makes a big difference. Like, what's the first tune on an album? Yeah.
Well, and that's the trick, you know, and so, you know, before we get in, you know, and I just got your sheet of all of the songs and kind of the story behind each of them. I'm curious, what was the idea behind the name of the album? You look awfully relaxed on the front cover on the bike. Talk to me a little bit about kind of how that came about.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's a big question. It's something that's become more and more, you know, my nature, I guess. I'm realizing I'm kind of nomadic. I guess I kind of have, maybe I have some way back ancestry to nomadic tribes somewhere. I don't know. But I tend to enjoy moving around for sure. It helps me in life to get ideas, to be inspired and creative, and that's kind of and then this whole thing with the pandemic kicked in, and that was like, now you're locked up. So that was the opposite in a way. That made me think about that more then.
I feel kind of akin to that notion too. I'm a very nomadic kind of, I move a lot, and it's just kind of a part of my rhythm. So how did you do over the pandemic? Did you still get, you know, to a point where you could ride your bike, do things, and get out? How did that work for you?
Yeah, first, I mean, I was here in New York and being, and it kind of locked down here when we got into end of March, April, I think, 2020. And so that was it. I just, my way of dealing with it was I couldn't go to the gym, so I started running, and I started running every day. And that was really nice. I didn't have a bicycle there, though. So I had to stay on my feet. So that was my way of dealing. And then the music, of course, you know, it got more. You get more. It was a way to get even more concentrating on the music too. So I try to make something good out of it. It was really tricky, but I really saw it as an opportunity to go inward more than, you know, usually you're out there and you're going to go do this, you got to do that. But now it was like, okay, I'll stay here and work on the music, you know. So that was for a while before I could travel. Later on, I did travel a bit too, quite. Actually, I managed to do that even during the pandemic. I was traveling. And this album, I have some tracks. I started recording in Los Angeles, actually. I went over there.
I guess that's the thing about what's going on right now. It has to feel so good after this 2-year period of primarily being locked down to not only be able to release this album, but to have the prospects of performing live. How does it overall feel to see this in print and feel like you kind of had a new lease on life?
You know, that's always a challenge. And now, I'm in a way, it's a bigger challenge now than it's been, because now things are coming back and venues are backlogged with people wants to come in and play. Maybe they booked people before the pandemic or during the pandemic that didn't work out, so they, so there's like a queue or a line of people want to get in. So it's tricky, but it's always a challenge to keep playing live, which is what I love to do. So I'm always working on that, the booking part you have to. So I have work lined up here coming up the next year and this year. And I was touring during the summer, and I had another tour now. I came back from a tour in October over in Europe. About 1 week, plus 9 days. So that was really nice. Where I had Donald Dean, an amazing drummer, who played with. Some people may have been familiar to him. I managed to get him over from Los Angeles, and then I have a friend, Brazilian bass player in Stockholm, Ruben Farias, who was working with me. So that was a great trio then mixed up with. So yeah, and now I'm in New York, and this is where I am, and New York is overcrowded as per usual with musicians, and it's just a challenge to play somewhere, So I'm lining up work in the beginning of next year now. That's where I'm at.
I did notice when you sent over the song list, there was a lot of these that were obviously thought about and laid down during the pandemic. And I'm curious, do you believe that this time the pandemic made your writing more intense or changed it a certain way? What do you think this time period did for you as not only an artist that performs, but someone that writes and puts together music?
Yeah, I was focusing maybe more on it. Because, I would wake up at night, as I wrote somewhere, and what do you do? I remember asking my now late mentor and good friend Joe DiOrio, the amazing guitarist who's been a close friend for several decades here. He just told me, you just work on the music, and he said, that's what I do, and that's what I did. So instead of lying there awake, you just get up and you start working on the music. But it's always there in the mind somewhere. So that was a great opportunity to get into more of that. So maybe some of the music is maybe it's a bit, what you call it, colored by nighttime sessions. I even have some tune. I think I have a tune they call Night Watch, actually. So that night perspective on things, and so there is some of the music that is maybe a little more laid back than I usually write, or more introspective, maybe you would call it. I'm not sure. So, but it was definitely a creative process that was intensifying during the pandemic for me. It was, yeah. I just had to get more into it, and just writing, And it works. That was the great news. It's no problem, You're always worrying as a musician, a creator, that maybe you run out of ideas or maybe it stops or something. But no, you just keep doing it and you get more ideas. The more you do, the more you get.
I love that notion. Yeah, yeah, it's great. You're just redistributing that energy instead of worry. You're putting it into a creative, constructive outlet. And I'm curious. Talk to me. You talked about really going through assembling these and putting these together in the right way. Kind of give me a little bit of an origin of how these songs came about and how you finally decided to lay them out the way you did for the final product.
Oh, that's a tricky question. There's most of it is new compositions. One is an old composition, actually, the opening called Outdoor Valley. That was re-emerged here. Actually, my wife pointed me to it and said, "Well, that's a great piece of music." When she heard a take on it from a long time ago, and I had to dig it up and work on it, and there it is. So that was nice. Recovery, something that has never been recorded, and then I have all the rest is stuff that I wrote here during the pandemic. Yeah, and they're very different. So I'm not sure how to answer. The ideas can come from anywhere. Some of them are really connecting to pandemic. Nomadic here, like ascending, uncovering, pressing forward. I have, which is like a nod to where I live here in Harlem too, where you have the great statue down on 125th Street. Adam Clayton Powell saying, "Pressing forward at all times, pressing forward, press forward." So that's also an inspiration. Other tunes like Rob's piano comes from an old friend of mine's, very untuned piano, but I just played something on it when we were sitting there drinking coffee, and I said, what was that? And recorded on my little phone. And that's a great with the phone. You can take ideas with you really quick with the phone. And just do a little voice memo there, and that became Rob's piano then. And otherwise, it's some of them are just it's just ideas from the music itself. Like ascending is an idea. It's a pedal tone on the bass, and it's something that's moving upwards. And I had that idea ringing in my head for days, and I thought, this is nothing. It's not enough. It's just 2 bars usually you should start with, and then if it rings enough within me, I know, okay, I've got to keep at it then. So that's usually how it works. I write in the mornings small ideas. I have some kind of a diary. I have a musical diary when I practice and so. Or at other times too, when I drink coffee, it can come up. But those can be very minimal and small ideas of just a few notes, and 1 bar, 2 bars, and then if it's really good, then it becomes. But then it's work to make it a composition.
I know when you get to this point of promotion, typically an artist is been working on this, been getting it ready, going through the entire process. So it's almost as though at this point now, you've probably moved on creatively to other projects. And I'm curious, in this post-COVID world we're living in and things kind of are getting accelerated after a period of introspection, have you kind of accelerated your process of producing music? Are you looking forward to the next project? How are you kind of moving forward now that you're promoting this album?
Oh, yeah, that's the tricky thing, Usually you get the wave of stuff to do, and you get locked in by the new album. So that's so much work around this to get it out and send it out. Got to get some reviews here and there, and so to at the same time think about the next one, which is what you need to do. But I like you say, I think. That's what's happening to me now. I managed to come out pretty quick with this one after my recent 130th in Lennox. Is about 2.5 years ago. I released the previous album. So, and that's for me is rather quick. Especially if you're doing most of it yourself, it's a lot of work. So like you say, I'm kind of sketching in the back of my head ideas. I mean, you get tunes that you think about, I just heard it, either you hear, I mean, I love, there's so much great music composed in jazz and recorded already that you want to play, so that you end up recording it too, of course, and just like tribute and this because you love the music. I just heard this, I just got into this Wayne Shorter to Night Dreamer. That's a beautiful composition. So that might be on my next, another night too,
yeah.
I guess. That's going to be my next album, I think. Oh, it?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's
That's
wonderful.
the way that goes from major to minor. It's just really, I just heard it. I was out one night at Smalls and Frank Lacey played it there on a French horn. It was really special sound too. He doesn't play French horn very often. The way it changes really quick. That's a great compliment. I mean, I really admire Wayne Shorter, everything he's wrote. And I have recorded at least a couple of his tunes before,
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the French horn. I was just watching a show the other night with kind of an avant drummer by the name of Arnie Young here, and he had a big group, and there was a young cat up there that had a French horn, and it was wonderful. It just added a level of I don't like a level of sophistication and something that you don't hear that often, and it just really was a nice touch.
Yeah, it is. That's a lyrical kind of sound, and it's the same time a strong instrument and French horn.
As you look into the end of 2020 right now, and obviously it's wonderful you have an album out and things that are moving in the right direction, but what are you looking at as you close the year out, and what are you looking forward to in 2023 as the new year opens?
Oh, what I'm working on? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the tours I'm working on, the bookings. Besides, always you're knocking around here in New York, working, playing small gigs around the corner or so, or getting in here and there. that's an ongoing thing. But then the tours is more something you have to focus on also, and with long, up front. So now I'm looking at the summer, is the festivals. I'm connecting with the festivals, the European festivals mostly. And then I'm working on a tour in April. Actually, I'm going to call this venue in Munich today. We'll see how that goes. I have a couple of dates there booked, so that's an anchor. So we'll see if I can do something with the same trio I had around. Because it becomes different kind of at least that's happened to me right now, that I just have a great touring trio, live playing trio, And it can be different to what you record with sometimes, because for some different reasons, who knows what. It's hard to understand for myself. But these guys just they're just different generations from different parts of the world. It's connecting totally. One from Brazil, one from North America, and then myself from Northern Europe. And it grooves like crazy. But that's Mr. Donald Dean. He's the groove master, from Eddie Harris and Les McCann and all those amazing recordings. And Donald Dean, Double D. I can't say too much about him. I mean, I can praise him, on and on. He's just an amazing personality, musician.
If anyone out there wants to pick up Nomadic in its proper form, and physical, or even download it digitally, where can they go and learn more about what your schedule is and touring and everything that's coming up for you?
Oh, okay, yeah. Nomadic is available now on all those. You just put in Nomadic and my name. I get Tomas without the H, Tomas Janzon with a Z, Janzon. And it will come up for Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon or anywhere of those places. Or also, actually, this Bandcamp. That's a good place if somebody wants really high quality download. Actually, Bandcamp I can recommend. And my website, of course. Everything is available straight from there. You can go from tomasjanzon.com. I recorded once again with the amazing Steve Nelson on vibraphone, Hiliard Greene on bass, and Chuck McPherson on drums. It's the same quartet I had on the previous album. So that was really nice to be able to have that. And then there is a trio there on a few tunes from Los Angeles with the virtuosic bass player Jeff Littleton and Tony Austin, also an amazing drummer. Some may know from other groups and so. But so it's two different bands on one trio and one quartet with the great Steve Nelson playing vibraphone in connection with the guitar there. That makes a great sound. I love it.
Thank you again for taking time. Good luck with everything as we move forward. I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for calling me. I appreciate the Neon Jazz.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Harlem, Kansas City, and spots all over the world. And thanks to Tomas for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store or Spotify. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.